smoke up in the sky. Pretty soon you'll learn to fly. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows. You might go quickly say to me, Mom, you better watch your feet. Lava come down soft and hot. You're loving me now or loving me not. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano comes. Oh, no time to count for what it's worth. 'Cause I just left this planet Earth. Where I go, I hope there's rum. I know there's gonna be a lot on the island tomorrow. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows. Lord, I don't wanna land in New York City. I wanna land in Mexico. Don't wanna land in Green Island. Don't wanna see my skin glow. Don't wanna land in Comanche, Skyport, or in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't wanna land in San Juan Airport or the Yukon Territory. Don't wanna land in San Diego. Don't wanna land in Buzzards Bay. Don't wanna land in Iota. I got nothing more to say. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday night. Wes Seiler here from Preserve Navarre Live, and I've got Kevin Lucas in the house. Kevin, welcome, man. I'm so glad you're here.
We're so excited to be here tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of fun things.
Yes.
Health and wellness.
Yes.
Maybe some shenanigans in there as well.
Well, you know, I'm loaded up on caffeine and everything. Kevin is the first person to bring coffee
Hey, we're
and hot
cheersing.
chocolate to the studio, so I appreciate that, man.
And I just want to say
Yeah.
that like it would be local because
Yeah.
we're a huge local support
Yes.
of everything we're doing. Everybody else was just closed right at the moment.
Right,
though.
right,
So here
right.
we are.
No, I think we frequent the same shops.
Yeah,
We're talking about Bulldog and a lot of others. So
Right.
welcome to the show. Looks like we got about 10, 12 people on already. Mark's already commented. Let me know if the sound is good, if it's coming in clear for you guys. If it's ever too quiet, just let us know. But all of our checks went out pretty good. Mark said, hopefully the number of viewers will continue to grow. Glad membership is growing. Nancy says sound is good. That's great. And it has, Mark. I really appreciate you and Nancy and everybody that watches every Thursday night. It's a lot of fun to do. And when you have people like Kevin on here, it's awesome. You guys are going to love this show because I've been researching what Kevin does and his family and, you know, what they're going after to try to help people. And it's incredible. So it could be life-changing for a lot of folks, man.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm hoping tonight is for you guys. And I'm just starstruck because I continue to be amazed at the people that we have in Navarre. People like you that are getting after problems, that are creating value for people, man.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. So we're going to get into all that, but I'm glad the sound is coming through. Looks like Carmen is watching as well. That's awesome. I did want to give a shout out. You know, Mark was talking about how the show has continued to grow. A big part of that is because of the sponsors that we have that allow us to do this.
Yeah.
When folks are donating money to allow us to have this show, it allows us to increase the production value, allows us to advertise and all that. So one of those sponsors that we just picked up is Friends of the Veterans Treatment Court. You're going to love this, Kevin. So Carmen Reynolds, mutual friend of ours, an amazing person.
Truly one of the most spectacular individuals. I
Yeah.
have the privilege of, I've known her for a long time, about 4 years now.
Okay.
And what she's done, not for me and my family, welcoming us here
Yes.
to the Navarre area.
Yes.
But she truly is an example of what a leader and
Yeah.
community member should be.
She is. So she's set right where you've sat, again, talking about the people that make up Navarre. And, you know, she's been on the show. She's talked about numerous different things that she's involved in the Turtle Center. She's involved in holding the commissioners accountable.
Right.
Any type they're putting out a policy, she's up there talking to them. She's involved in so many things.
Absolutely.
One of her big projects right now is something I knew nothing about, right? As someone who served and all that stuff, I had no clue this even was a thing. And the hope is it becomes a thing for Santa Rosa County.
Right.
the Veterans Treatment Court. So what this is, Kevin, kind of the short version, because she's got a whole show she did with me that's on this, is it is a particular court for veterans that have run-ins with the law.
Right.
Right? Because a lot of times it can be attributed back to things they encountered in service.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it gives them a special process and a special judge and everything else to see, okay, was this service related? If it's not, okay, treat them normally. But if it was service related, what are we doing specifically to get them back on their feet
100%.
and get them back into society? Because it's challenging, man. And I know you know this. We're going to talk about family and all that stuff and your experiences in the military and, you know, with your family and what y'all have done and served. But this is an amazing thing. And the number of veterans, you know this, in Navarre, is just overwhelming. And when we have people like that have needs, we need to make sure we're taking care of them. So
100%.
that's her whole show. So she's a sponsor for this, their organization they're building. If you're interested, you want to know more, I've got the email address, Veterans Treatment Court for src@gmail.com. So that's a great effort, man. Love that.
Yeah,
so,
and what a lot of people don't understand is any way that you can support, whether it's time, whether it's dollars, you know, and a lot of times you're like, man, if I can't donate $1,000, it's not worth it. Like really, truly, any way at which people can help these organizations makes one person makes a gigantic difference.
Yes.
And what I like to tell people is if you can change one life, you've changed every life.
yes.
So,
Oh, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I can hear Carmen like talking through that. Dude, you get it, man. That's awesome. Looks like if you want closed captioning, I'll look into that, Mark, of how to help with that. That's a good one. Looks like Tom is on the show as well. Tom's another one of our sponsors with the Panhandle Shop. He says lighting and sound are great as always. Great shows. Enjoy them. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that, man. It's nice to have several sponsors for the show. So I always cover news real quick, so I'm going to get your hot take on this, Kevin, because I always get the Navarre press before we kick off a show.
Right.
There's a couple things going on, and I know you as a local, every local has an opinion on what's going on. One of the big things that I want to get your take on, because we're talking about, where we lived, is there's a lot of talk right now about the potential for a connector road.
Right.
This is the study area. Everybody can see it on the show.
Yeah.
This is what they're looking at. This has been in the works. It's not something that's relatively recent. They've been looking at this for years.
Right.
It picked up steam, especially last summer, I believe. And now they're moving forward, right? They've done a study. Now they're starting to pitch it. We had some members there that had some concerns about this. And I know a lot of the people that are living on these, near where this road would be are concerned about the 98 spillover traffic.
For sure.
So, I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Feel free.
Yeah,
like a hot take on it?
It's a really interesting thing. I've lived in 27 homes. I've lived all over the world. I've moved around a lot. And what was interesting about Navarre was the growth happens in these explosions. And so then when there's a development that happens and if you're not from the area, you're like, oh, I can just drive through here, and then you're dead-ended and then you're trying to figure it out. So I definitely can see from a local perspective who've been used to quiet and small and quaint and 25-mile-an-hour traffic, and now all of a sudden you're going to blow that up.
Yeah.
It can be a little frustrating for those people who have used to Navarre being so small.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of the concern is that the bigger this road gets, the more likelihood there could be rezoning and commercial development, which brings just even more traffic. So it's, I always think about things in terms of economics and supply and demand.
Right.
What are we doing in terms of the actual demand for roadways?
Right.
And that's where, we're blaring out money, asking people to come here, like begging them to come from Texas and Louisiana and wherever. Please come visit Navarre. Well, then you're going to get people. You're going to have these problems.
You're going to have that flow.
So there's a lot. The way they did the meeting, they just kind of put some banners up and things like that, some posters for people to look at. It wasn't like anyone, got up in front of everybody and gave the whole spiel. It's more just come and see. It's like an open house. But there was frustration with that as well because it was in Gulf Breeze, not here.
Not here.
So there's definitely some frustration. We'll be following that closely. So if you've got opinions on that, let me know and I'll pull up your comments on here. Another one is Set Free Refuge. So this was in the news as well. So these guys are involved in fighting human trafficking. So that's what they're doing. There's a huge problem of that in this area in Northwest Florida. And Skip Orth and his team are involved in that. They're kind of changing up their dynamics of how they do that as an organization. They're shifting to a foundation because some of the changes in law of what they've been providing in the past.
Yeah.
So again, other people that are doing great work. I'm just glad they're continuing to do that work, even if it has to shift. Okay.
Right.
As long as they're not shutting down.
Yeah, 100%. And I've served on some different boards, and we're heavily involved in the child sex trafficking world, and time that we dedicate, and we'll talk about a little bit of why that is for me a little bit later. But people just on average can't comprehend how pervasive and how prolific it really is. And we always think in our small town it's not happening, and like this is a significant major thoroughfare through here, and so it is a for real problem that needs to be addressed.
Right. It's one of those things that doesn't get discussed in polite society and stuff, but thankfully there's like the Jim Caviezel movie that's kind of coming out fighting that, saying we have to talk about this. For sure. And I'm so proud of Skip for continuing his work through that. All right, so let's hit events, and then we'll get to the meat of this thing, because there are a few events that I want to cover. Last week we did a show, and it was just like a pure interview. So we didn't get a chance to cover all of these events, but I'm glad to do it today because there's so many amazing things, man, that are going on in Navarre if you just look right below the surface. We've already talked about some of them. So one of them was the Night to Shine event. So my wife was running this with Community Life Church and stuff and all their volunteers and awesome teams. This is a special needs prom that they do every year over at the church. So it allows people that are in the special needs community to come out and just feel celebrated.
Right.
Military folks get to like dress up in service dress and escort them down the front row.
Right.
They get the red carpet experience. A bunch of like kids and adults are cheering for them and stuff. and I had this wonderful story. I got to share this with you. This is one of those tearjerker stories. Is they get better at it every year. And this year they implemented some changes and kind of upgraded how they do the red carpet experience, because in the past some folks could be a little bit triggered by all the noise and stuff given whatever condition they're in. Yeah, and so they're like, well, we're just going to skip it, right?
Right.
So what they've done the past couple of years, and they've gotten so good at it, is they have like a little keyword that they say, and that tells them to cheer silently. And so they do this with their hands, right?
Man,
like,
that's amazing.
And so it's Nacho was the word. So they had one of the staff guys named Clint, and he was just like, this guy, he loves football and he loves music and nachos. And then everybody knows to go silent and wave.
That's
right?
amazing, right?
Isn't that amazing? And so you would go from just like everybody's cheering and loud and jumping to silent like that for the person that was coming down based upon
their
whatever.
needs. Truly spectacular.
Isn't that wonderful? So
for sure.
Really fun event that my wife was a part of, and I was a part of, and we've been doing for years. And it's just like right below the surface. There's so many good things happening. We had a couple events. We had a wine and cheese tasting over at the Best Western. Just a chance for people to get to know us, come out, have a great time. That's what our group does. We do a lot of like meet and greets. We had gift baskets. People went crazy to get like a bottle of wine and stuff. So I was like, cool. Like, it was also free, but like we did some raffles and stuff, and we want to do more of those kind of things. So if you've got ideas for us as a group, just let us know, because we love to get people together and develop community and stuff. Participated in trash cleanup. So this was on the one of the pages of, here it is, like in the Navarre Press. All credit for this goes to Joe Cooper. So Joe Cooper's been on the show as well. So there you go, right there in the Navarre Press. Big shout out to Joe. So this was his idea, his event with Navarre Citizens page, and we were just happy to be part of it. We were walking up and down 98 for a couple hours, just picking up trash with the commissioners and whoever else showed up, and just saying, hey, this is our community. We live here, Well, like we want to keep it clean.
I put on 300,000 miles a year traveling to different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And when I tell people how beautiful the beach is and the community is here, and it's because the community participates and they want to be accountable to what's happening, like that's different. Because I can tell you, I go to other parts of the country in other states where you don't want to even step a foot out on the beaches because they're so disgusting and there's just no accountability. So again, why we call Navarre home and why this is my place of refuge. And because it's magic.
Special
here.
place.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, absolutely. So and Joe gets that, and that was kind of his motivation for doing that. So really proud of everybody who came out that event. Everybody supported. It was raining, so like people braved the weather and everything. It was cool to see and all that. So we've got just going forward in terms of events. We've got a members dinner this Sunday, so feel free to come on out at Andy D's, one of our favorite spots in the area. You're welcome, Kevin. By all means, come on out. Bring the family if you like. If you're going to be in town, I know you're a busy guy. But we do these pretty much monthly. Is our goal is just come out, support a local business, have a dinner, again, get to know folks, get them out there talking, answer any questions they have, and then connect them to a lot of the things we're doing. Awesome. So that's what we got coming up this Sunday. Man, you already hit on some of the topics that we're going to focus on. So I'm excited for that because you're giving people a preview of what we're going to talk about. And you mentioned, the quality of people, what makes Navarre special, and we were talking before we went live about the beach and the beautiful area and all that stuff. That to me is like the initial appeal, but it's the people and the friendships that you make. And as Navarre has changed over the years, I think that people they don't always realize the quality of folks that are here, especially if they don't live in this area.
Right.
Right? It's like, I had no idea, and I put their photo on here, I had no idea that we had an NFL star playing for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Right? I think he was playing for the Jets before that, but like, he's literally playing on Sundays, and he went to Navarre High.
Right.
Right? Like, no clue. Like, I had no... if you dig into the history books, and not even ancient history, recent history, Rick Landreth, if you've seen the movie Black Hawk Down, he is portrayed in that film.
Right.
The actual guy, like, who was doing all this incredible stuff, fighting for our country in some of the biggest named operations that we've had.
Right.
Raised in the Holly, right down the street, right? Like his whole family, you know? So his nephew's a friend of mine, you know? So you have people like this in Navarre that are making it what it is. And that's really the point of this show, is to give those folks a chance to be recognized, to talk about what they're doing. And Kevin, just getting to know you these past few days, talking to you and researching what you're going to talk about here in a second, you're in there. Like, you are in there, man. Like, it is. We have football players, we've got war heroes, we've got entrepreneurs and innovators, right? Like, that is really what takes Navarre to the next level. So
for sure.
I'm so excited. So now, that being said, this is not Navarre.
That is absolutely not Navarre. So I'm originally from Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
A lot of people don't even realize, like, Spokane, Washington is way up in the northeastern, corner of Washington State. People hear Washington, oh, Seattle? Like, no, not Seattle. We actually have snow. We have gray most of the year. A little bit of sunshine once in a while. And you've been there. You were there for surf
I have.
training.
So I got one day in Spokane that was like, as someone who could enjoy it. And I really enjoyed, downtown, all that kind of stuff. That was great. Had some pizza there. But we spent the entire day, like, detoxing. Yeah. Like, because we had survived survival school.
Right.
You know, over at I think it's Fairchild is the Air Force Base there. So I was like the class leader for about 80 students, most of them, like, doing really cool, amazing jobs. But that is where the Air Force builds backbones, right, and teaches you how to survive off of like bugs,
right? Because
in the cold,
in the cold, in the biggest part. Like my parents call me today and like, hey, how warm is it today? I'm like, well, it was like 60 and pretty much mostly sunny, and it's not that up there right now.
Yeah,
so.
One of my really good friends, he's a SEER instructor, is what they call him. And so, yes, they knew everything about me, you know, when I showed up. So he made sure of that. But I survived. I made it through. I would love to go back to Spokane and not be, like, under duress. That would be an amazing experience for me. But, yeah, and we talked about it a little bit, too. My wife is from New England, so I told her 1 week of snow. 1 week of snow a year. We got it. But maybe I can convince her to do that. Yeah. So, beautiful, beautiful place. But that just looks cold. It brings the temperature down.
It's cold for sure. And really what prompted our move is that my father-in-law actually retired out of Hurlburt.
Oh, okay.
So we had been coming down here for years.
Got it.
My wife and I met while he was stationed at Fairchild.
Okay.
He got orders to come down here and finish out his 24 years in the service. And so my wife actually was in the Air Force as well, and she was doing her tech school over in Biloxi. So on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'd come over to Navarre, hang out, go to the beach, enjoy beautiful Navarre. So we've been coming here for about 25 years now. Fast forward, we were deployed overseas and settled in Spokane because that's where all of my family is, and we wanted our boys to be around as much family as possible. Well, my wife, who I didn't realize how much she struggled with the cold, finally, so I was coming to Navarre and Pensacola, and I was staying here for a week at a time teaching a therapy that I used to do. Yeah. And I remember it was November, it was December, and it was January, and I'd take off from Spokane and be above the Stockton cloud cover and be like, the sun does exist. And so being in Navarre, November, December, January for a week at a time, it really hit me. I could live someplace nice and vacation to ski instead of living someplace miserable and vacationing to the beach once a year. And my wife was like, I've been telling you that for 13 years, and finally it hit, and so now we've been here full time for 6 years.
That's great, man. I love that. Yeah, so that was very similar experiences. My wife, when we first met, she's like, well, I want to move back to New England when I'm done with my service. And I was like, but we could live in the South, right? And I'm a Southern boy, right? I'm from Tennessee. Like, accent will come out once in a while, but she was just like, I don't know. And they had the whole stereotypes about the South. Right. I introduced her to Tennessee. I introduced her to Alabama. And I was like, okay, we'll see. Yeah, like she was not sold. She was, maybe, I don't know. So I was like, all right, well, I'll tell you this. Let's just go on a vacation. We'll talk about it. in Navarre,
Yeah.
right? And
That's right.
we drove over that bridge, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Now, what is this place?"
It's-
right?
it's
And I was
so
just
true.
like, "Oh, it's just Navarre, and
Yeah.
it's also in the south,
Well,
and
well,
people
even,
live here."
Yeah, and even when we bring our friends who are like, man, I live in San Diego, it's beautiful, or SoCal, and then when they come here and visit, there's like, I didn't know anything like this existed.
That's right. Yeah.
So we all know it's magic. That's why we live here.
Yep.
And that's why it's growing, because
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
people are getting
Everybody
smart.
wants to.
So
But you can still visit places like that. They make plans for that reason. That's how
true.
I see it, and sounds like that's where your family's at.
Yeah, 100%.
I wanted to talk about family for a minute, because that's an awesome thing. And as like a military spouse, so I know what that feels like, because my wife was active duty as well, right? And so she deployed, she went overseas, she fought the fight, and I was back home taking care of the dog. We didn't have a kid at the time, but the dog. It is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough, with your wife training and everything else and stuff.
Right.
You're part of that service too. I remember when my cousin joined the Army, right? And then his wife, I was talking to her name's Robin. I was like, "Thanks for your service." And she's like, "Oh, I'm not joining. He is." I'm like, "No, you're joining too.
Yeah.
You're joining too, my friend." Like,
Yeah.
and she means that 'cause she's the one taking care of the boys, like while he's overseas. There's obviously a difficulty with deployment,
For sure.
but there's a whole nother difficulty being the one at home, being the one that's like taking care of home base.
That's
man.
why those
That's
things
service.
can happen, right?
Yeah.
Like it's family, it's the military family for a reason. The hardships, the travel, the time away from home, the time at home when you're not available, and so my wife joined in '99. And so it was like, oh man, easy breezy, and then 9/11 happens, right? And then the world changed, right? And so then it was a whole different gambit.
So thanks for what you've done, man, because you've enabled that. You've enabled her to serve, your kids, like keeping everybody together. It is not an easy thing, and like doesn't matter if you're domestic or overseas or whatever. There's challenges that come to military life, and it's not just borne by the service member.
Right.
It is borne by the entire family. So
yeah, for sure.
Beautiful family, and you've already kind of covered the story, which is awesome about how you laid it here. And what would she say? Is kind of she the same wavelength, in terms of like why you stay? Is that
Why we stay in Navarre?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's kind of
absolutely.
like did it evolve for you, or was it like love at first sight?
Well, the reason we initially came was because my in-laws were here, right? We didn't really know that this place existed, and my wife's family is actually from the Zephyr Hills, Homosassa area, so even further south. So
Got it.
And I would say if she could be a little more warm during the wintertime and we could be a little more south, she probably would want to pull that off. But, we love here as a local. It's easy. I mean, coming from the West Coast, I couldn't have the house that I live in this close to the water, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I was telling you earlier, like coming from the West Coast, there's no way you would find a single wide trailer this close to the water, and in a community like this. So it's such a fantastic, odd, amazing little community.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the growth that's changing, but we both love it. It's going to be
It's
our
a small
home
town
for
feel.
forever, and for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, talk to me about this, because we've talked about Spokane, so I have a little familiarity with that. But I was looking through some of the photos and stuff on the website and Facebook and everything else.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of introduce it for folks. So who's this gentleman you're with?
So the gentleman that I'm with here, his name is Bruno Bastos. He's actually one of the most accomplished Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grapplers on the face of the planet. One of the most decorated world champions, multiple-time world champions, Abu Dhabi champions. And the reason that we have the connection that we do to the Jiu-Jitsu world is in the regenerative therapy side, athletes want to be as well and healthy as possible so they can continue to compete. And what we do has a huge impact for them. And in the last 3 or 4 years in particular, people have just really seen the results that our clients have had, and guys who, men and women who couldn't compete anymore, or men and women who had academies and schools that they were going to have to sell them because their bodies were so broken, are now competing again. They're not having to retire. They're coming out of retirement. And so he's one of my dear friends, but, one of the kindest, most compassionate killers on the planet. Like I was
going to say, so like Brazil, for people that don't know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how I would describe it, tell me if this is right, it's like the trigonometry of like martial arts, right? Like it is like the most complex, lethal, like it requires dedication and focus.
It's unlike anything else.
It really is.
I'm a lifelong martial artist. I've trained stand-up styles, and the most humbling experience in my life was getting on a mat and having 125-pound women choke me out, and I literally could not do anything with it. And so it's one of the hardest things to do. It's not there's some martial arts where we call them martial arts mills, where you pay your money per month, and 2 years later you have your black belt. Like, this is a whole different ball of wax.
It is incredibly complex.
And a lot of people say it's folding clothes with people inside of them.
I can see that.
One of the things. And so
and then it's used in like certain films, right? Like Matt Damon sitting there studying.
Like the John Wick films, the Bourne, Supremacy films, or all of those movies. Like, there's some Krav Maga in there as well, and being a combatives guy, like, we know the difference between like movie magic and then legitimate for real. Like, and that's the thing about jiu-jitsu, is that everything is 100% applicable to the real life situation. Right. And if you end up going to the ground, which you would never want to do, like as run away, like do everything you can, but there's nothing that can do what jiu-jitsu can do. And this is where, if you ask any world champion why they train jiu-jitsu, it was some similar experience of, like, I got on the mat and some woman twice my size less had her way with me, and I could do nothing about it. And it's the most humbling experience.
I feel so safe right now.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm not so much the jiu-jitsu expert, but we help the jiu-jitsu experts do what they're going to do.
I saw that. So there's this is my favorite picture that you sent me. I love this because it kind of puts it all together, right? This is the logo for your project, and it aligns with some of your passions and interests, especially for martial arts. So talk about this for me. What is New Hope Regeneration? This is kind of like that that calling, right? I can just tell, right? Like when someone has found their calling, and I think this is for you. So what is it? Like, so we're going to start from the basics and work our way up.
Yep, for sure. So regenerative therapy is, we're living in the greatest time of all of human history to help our bodies do what they're designed to do, which is heal and be restored. God made these miraculous machines that have the capacity to be able to get better. The challenge is, as we get older, we have less of the cells that are the things that repair us. And now we can safely add more cells to your bank account. So one of the best ways to think about this is that anytime there's an injury in your body, the stem cells in your body are what are telling your tissues to repair. They're the supervisor. They're the foreman. They're the going around to all the different, the plumbers, the electricians. They're the ones saying, okay, you need to do this way, you need to do that way. And they're unique in that capacity. And so, people think, well, if I just get this surgery, then it'll be fixed and good. If I just take this medication, then it'll be fixed and good. And the truth is, while those things can save lives, those aren't actually regenerative mechanisms. Those are like, I'm going to try to put a piece back together, and maybe if that doesn't happen, then we don't know what to tell you.
That's really interesting. So I immediately think about that kind of in what I've experienced, right? So coming back from Afghanistan, sure, there was medicine available. I had a lot of anxiety and things like that because I'd been out there for 6.5 months, right on the Eastern Front, or whether by Pakistan and stuff. It was tough. It was a challenging time in my life. Came back. There's like the medicine availability, right? But a lot of people said, like, look, that might help a little bit, but that's not the fix. Right. It really came down to getting some counseling, working through, okay, how do I readjust to being back home,
The goal is
lifestyle changes.
The goal is to get to the root of the problem or the issue, and not just cover it up.
Not just like work on the symptoms.
And what a lot of people don't understand is that pharmaceuticals, literally, like if you're driving in your car and you get the warning lights that come on, this is what pharmaceuticals do. They just shut the light off. Right. They don't actually really facilitate any change in your body, and that's the difference between regenerative therapy. Regenerative medicine actually gives your body more cells to be able to do the things that it used to be able to do 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And the best way to think about this is that if I say, like, if your car breaks down, Wes, and I ask you, what do you need to fix your car? What's the first thing? Most people typically say, well, I need the part. Right. How do you get the part? Right. You got to pay for it. Right. If you don't have the money, if you don't have the budget to buy the part, your car doesn't get fixed. Right. And what our body's currency is stem cells. Stem cells are our body's natural internal repair system. We all have them. We just now live in a time period where we can add more of them to your system in a safe way. And the truth is, rest of the world has been doing this as common healthcare practices literally for 50 to 60 years now. That's why when you heard about athletes going overseas and, they were getting stem cells, and then in 2 months, they were coming back from a year-long career-ending injury, but they finished out the season because they got stem cells. And that's available now in the United States.
Yeah. I want to jump ahead because we've got like a couple of graphics on that. Let me see if I can find this. Because when you say stem cells, like, this is what you mean. I saw this on your website.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people may not understand that terminology. So you use, I think, infinity matrix, right? Where are these coming from?
Yeah,
Exactly?
so the cells are collected from healthy mothers, healthy babies after the baby has been delivered to full term. So number one, for the people who believe that, you know, you have to get these from aborted babies or you got to kill the baby to get them, in the 1940s and 50s, that's what they thought. They didn't realize that actually the best stem cells to use are collected from the umbilical cord, and so they were, or other countries are still maybe participating in that, or research organizations unfortunately are doing that. For me as a believer, number one, I could never have anything to do with that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right? I don't believe in hurting another person to help another person.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's completely unacceptable. Number two, it's illegal to do in the United States, so you can't have that done here.
Right.
And number three, even if you could look beyond those things, they're not even the best ones to use now. And we now know that, you know, and the really a great analogy is we didn't used to have electricity, and we now all carry supercomputers in our pockets on a daily basis.
Right.
We didn't used to be able to increase our stem cell bank account, and now we can do it in a safe way that is literally 100% safe. Literally, these can't hurt you; they can only make you better.
So, in a way, you were starting to change the paradigm or the thinking about this. It's
Literally,
like,
we're shifting the course of healthcare. And if you think back to the 1970s, like doctors who were doing hormone therapy in the 1970s were ostracized, they were outcasts. They were like, it doesn't matter if your hormones are on track. And I don't know if you've ever been around someone who has a hormone dysfunction and then they get their hormones back on track. It saves marriages.
Yeah,
right?
it's jarring.
Like,
it's like, whoa, he's back.
And we're in that same spot with regenerative therapy.
That's interesting. The other one, like, and I bring it back just to military stuff that I've experienced with PTSD.
Yeah, 100%.
If you had asked someone 50 years ago, my grandfather's time, it wasn't a thing, right? Like, it really wasn't recognized. People came back from World War II and Vietnam. It's not a thing. Now we know it's a thing. Scientifically, we can measure that, right?
Yeah, we can see the brain imaging. We know that brain now, and that's my background. So my background is in neurobiology, physiology, embryology, and pain science. And so I've specialized in working with Parkinson's patients, MS patients, special needs kiddos for the last 26 years. And we can tell people now that when there's trauma to the body, it literally changes the brain, right? So imagine there was a road, and then you get rid of the road. Like it's different than what it was before. When there's trauma, whether it's, you know, a car accident, whether it's military service, whether it's abuse, or it doesn't matter, that changes the brain, particularly in an inflammatory way. And if we can decrease that inflammation, if we can help your body have the cells needed to rebuild that road, you can take that road again.
In a natural way that's not hurting anybody else.
You 100%.
Awesome. So let's look at some of the effects of this. So you got an amazing video. So y'all let me know if the sound comes through on this, but he's got some amazing videos on his YouTube page as well as his website. Here's just a short one. So y'all tell me what you think.
There is hope for people who have had traumatic brain injuries. There's hope for veterans who have been hurt. Anything I can do to help people feel better and get better and have better relationships with their family. Because if you're not sleeping, you're grumpy. If you're snoring, you're keeping your wife up. And if you're in pain every day, this is when we start seeing veterans have problems. Just being in pain every day and your brain not functioning the right way, that's when we see veterans get in trouble and possibly hurt themselves. And so if I can get out there and help people feel better, this is the legacy that I want to leave.
Amazing. So the part when they were talking about snoring, heavy laughing, I think now you got my wife's attention.
And what's really interesting about Ricardo Tubbs is that he actually served 24 years in the Navy. He was a corpsman, and he was actually assigned to Special Forces Squadron, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so he was a medical person taking care of the soldiers, but he could also put rounds down range, so SF loved to take him along. He was blown up 3 times in 2 helicopter accidents and comes back to the States, and at the age of like 42, 43, like is at a point where he's having a hard time remembering his kids' names, forgetting, you know, he's using the wrong words to say things, and the image that we don't see now, but that was in that video, he only had 45% blood flow to certain parts of his brain. So his brain literally wasn't working because it didn't have enough of the blood that it needed. Fast forward, he does regenerative therapy, also did some hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and with those tools, but particularly with the stem cells, he's now at 95% blood flow to his brain, and now is functioning in a way that every neurologist in the country told him was impossible, and now he's doing all the things that they told him he wasn't able to do.
I absolutely love that, man. I mean, that is service, right? Like, that's service to
For
those
sure.
who serve. Like incredible. I mean, you're bringing their lives back in a big way.
Yeah, and it's really, you know, for me, with so many of my family members, right? Like my wife was in the service. My brother has 7 more months of retirement from the Army of a full career. My dad was in the service. A bunch of my uncles were. Like, I went the healer route and the medical route versus the military route. But the reason we have such a huge passion for helping service members is, as you know, like, you volunteer your life literally, and many people are put in situations that you would never be put in. And the truth is, when they come back here, many of you men and women aren't getting the care that you need, right? So this is one of the reasons why we're also partnered with the SEALs Future Foundation.
Yeah.
This is a group of guys who were Navy SEALs, were getting terrible care by the VA, and said, we got to do something different. So they've compiled some of the best healthcare providers in the world. So when they have a SEAL who's not getting what he needs, they can go to their list of superhero specialists and say, hey, and we're their stem cell providers.
Nice.
So we've been able to do therapy for a bunch of their guys. But the beautiful part to what we do is that it's not just for service.
It's not just military,
right.
though. Yeah, I was looking at some of these other like descriptions of people that you help.
The vast majority. So we've done over 300,000 therapies the last 8 years. So do you remember when LASIK came out and the billboard would be, Dr. John has done 3,000 LASIK procedures,
I remember.
right?
Yeah,
And that's a big deal. We've done 300,000 successful
amazing.
therapies the last 8 years. So Miss Sandra was one of them. She was at a point where she's in kidney failure. Her docs are like, the only thing that's left is dialysis. You're going to have to go on long form dialysis 3 to 4 days a week, spend 8 hours a day at the renal center. And so she's like, well, what else do I have left to lose? She comes in, receives therapy from us, and after one therapy, within a 3-week window, she goes from 24% kidney function to 47% kidney function, and in 9 months she's at 80% kidney function. And now it's been 7 years since she's done therapy. The other crazy part to this is that with kidney issues come vision issues. She had lost her driver's license, so because she couldn't pass the vision test at the DMV. Within 6 months, her eyes had improved so much that she was able to go retake her vision exam and get her driver's license back. And so this isn't just changing lives that, man, I'm out of less pain. It's really giving people their lives back.
That's really cool.
Truly restorative and
There's another one here responding to an accident,
yeah,
right?
yeah. This young man, and this happened at the start of COVID. So this young man was 18 years old, was on a roof in Washington State in April. So that's literally right when COVID happens. Falls off the 30-foot roof, falls off the roof. His harness fails. His safety harness fails. He lands on his face in a scorpion position. It explodes his face, multiple fractures.
You see the injuries there. It's terrible.
He was, urinating blood, couldn't see out of his left eye. The neurologist said, told his parents, you're never going to get your son back. He's probably going to have the cognitive function of a 5 or a 6 or a 7-year-old. Like, he's not going to be who he was. Because it was in COVID and they didn't know what was happening with COVID at the time, this young man's mom is a nurse practitioner who's trained in emergency medicine. So they did the surgery and sent him home right away, which they would never do. Normally he would have been in the ICU, but they wanted to get him out of the hospital. So we were actually able to get to his house, administer therapy, because it's just a simple injection. And within a 24-hour window after his surgery, he went from urinating blood and having no vision in his left eye to those being fully restored.
Wow.
And then in the picture that's kind of hard to see, so the top left picture is him right after his surgery. The picture to the right is in the gray sweatshirt, was 2 weeks after his was 24 hours after we did the injection. And then the bottom left picture was only 2 weeks after his injury. So it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how young you are, it doesn't matter how severe your trauma has been, or if you just have some aches and pains. The reason our bodies are not working as well as what they are is our stem cell bank account is too low. Like, think about this. When we're 18, 19, 20, we can eat Hot Pockets, Cheetos, and Pop-Tarts all day long and go to 2-day practices and still go to work and function. When I'm 30...
Yeah, no, this is my treat now.
Right,
this is about all I get.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Hot chocolate,
And why is that? And it's not because there's something wrong with your body or there's something bad with your body. It's that all of those soldiers, those stem cells that managed all those problems, there's just so many less of them that they can't keep up. And every decade I get older, I have less of them, and I have less of them. So now that budget isn't keeping up. But now we can just add more to your bank account, and now it's like being a billionaire again. And if you had to remodel your house or rebuild a car and you're a billionaire, it's like, that's no problem. There's no stress or worry because you're going to be able to manage it.
Right.
And that's what we're able to do today.
Now, have you seen any limitations, side effects, or long-term challenges?
This is the most amazing part, is that number one, we can't hurt you and we can't make you worse. So a stem cell cannot cause any negative reaction or any negative issues. Unlike a pharmaceutical that's actually a poison to the body, right? It's a synthetic, man-made material that your liver, your kidneys, your body has to process and get rid of. So yes, hopefully they're helping with something, but at the same time, they're toxic as well. Stem cells are completely opposite. We call it God's medicine because they're made by God. They're cells that we already have. We're just adding more of them to you.
Right, yeah. So I got a question here. Here's a really good one. I've gotten a lot of feedback on this already. Kathy asked, tell us how stem cell therapy works. What really happens? And I think she's talking about at kind of like a more detailed level, you know?
So ultimately, here's what's happening. When we have someone who's contemplating this therapy, right, we're going to get them on the phone with our medical team. We're going to go through your health challenges and your goals and how your body's not working as well as what you would like. From there, we're going to make a recommendation on how many cells we think you should get based off of your situation. A person would come into the office and they're going to get a simple injection. We can put some in a joint, we can put it in a muscle, we can find a good vein and put it in your body.
Okay.
We literally just have to get it in your body, and your body is going to know where those cells are supposed to go, what they're supposed to do. And this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that we know we have a heart, we have lungs, we have a liver, I have bones, I have muscles. Yeah. People just don't even realize that a stem cell is the core component of our body's ability to be able to function. And so we're just adding more of these cells that already exist. And so when we add more cells, your body now can increase its ability to naturally fight inflammation, naturally regenerate tissue. They are immunomodulatory, which means it helps adjust your immune system. If your immune system is overactive and it's attacking itself, that needs to be calmed down. The stem cells are going to know in that person, let's calm you down. If I have another client who has a hypo or a suppressed immune system, meaning they get colds and flus all the time, they get every bug that comes around, someone looks at them funny and they get sick, that's a suppressed immune system. The stem cells in that person are going to know to elevate that person's immune system. So this is the magic of regenerative therapy. It doesn't matter what you have going on. These are going to help your body do what it's designed to do, which is heal.
Yeah. So real quick too, because I've been looking at this all week. I'm so impressed by your website, the Facebook, the YouTube that you've got going. Really great job with all the marketing, because there's a packet there that you can download. 100%. Right? What's the website again?
So newhoperegeneration.com is our website. newhoperegeneration.com. We have ebooks. We can mail you a book. Actually, I put one in your.
Got a little
we got
brochure.
brochures. We got tons of videos, tons of podcasts, tons of education about what this is and how it works. Because this is the biggest challenge. Is people get misinformation from misinformed people. Right. And so imagine if you asked your plastic surgeon to deliver a baby. Am I going to want the plastic surgeon delivering the baby? Probably not, right? Do I want my renal specialist doing brain surgery? I don't want the kidney specialist working on my brain. In regenerative medicine, the same thing is going on right now, where it's its own specialty, but there's a lot of docs that are not educated or updated about the truth and the reality of what it is. And that's our goal, is we want to be able to educate people about what it is, how it works, and the simplicity of it. And as someone who's had private practices my whole entire life, again, working with Parkinson's, working with MS, working with special needs kiddos, there was nothing else that I could offer before regenerative therapy that didn't have some kind of a negative side effect.
Right.
Every pharmaceutical, every surgery, even chiropractic care can have a little bit of risk to it. Even a massage could have a little bit of risk to it, right? The crazy part about regenerative therapy is we're just adding more cells in your body that already exist.
I really like the example that you gave of LASIK and PRK.
Yeah.
Because I remember that. It was 2013 is when I got it. and it was accepted at that point, but
Right.
still relatively new.
Right.
But man, just like Kathy's talking about, I was researching like crazy
Yeah.
because before I let them take a laser to my eyes, I want to know that like
Exactly.
they're not going to miss, like or
Right.
whatever. Like I don't know,
Right.
like you know,
That's
for those of us
exactly
that
right.
haven't done the research on this stuff, that's such a key piece, is allowing us to kind of investigate and
Right.
say, okay, if I'm going to open myself up to this, I want to know all the risk involved.
And,
So,
and
it's
like I was
great.
saying, what people don't realize, like if you've never lived outside of the United States, you don't realize how far the United States is behind in healthcare.
Yeah.
Like we literally, like we rank, according to the World Health Organization, the United States ranks 49th in life expectancy and quality of health behind Cuba.
That's crazy.
The top
That's
three
nuts.
countries, Japan, Italy, and France, on average,
Yeah.
they outdrink us and they outsmoke us per capita, and they are the most healthy cultures on the planet and have utilized regenerative therapy as a core component of tools in their toolbox to help people get well, literally for over 50 years.
Yeah. Is that
So-
part of the challenges with insurance? Because somebody was asking on here, what kind of insurance is taken for
Yes.
this?
That's
that
a great
part of it?
question. Unfortunately, right at the moment, and this is a really interesting thing, and if you don't understand the legalese world and the healthcare world, right, in order for something to be covered by insurance on average, it has to be, you have to be able to patent it, right? And if it's not patentable, a lot of insurance companies won't give the okay to be able to pay for it. Now, a lot of our clients who have HSA accounts or healthcare savings plans, they can use those to cover this, but the insurance world as a whole, we have a legal team that all they do all day long is fight with the insurance world
Yeah.
to try to make this acceptable. It's labeled, or it's lumped under the natural therapy umbrella because you can't patent a stem cell and you can't tell a stem cell what to do, right?
Interesting.
So, and it's something really quick to think about. So Valium, right? We all know what Valium does. Valium is a pill or an injection I can take that calms me down. Valium comes from the root word valerian, coming from the valerian root, right? So Valium is just the synthetic version and an amped up man-made version of valerian root, and valerian root was used for literally thousands of years to be able to help people sleep and calm down.
Yeah.
And so, but because it's natural, you can't patent that.
Yeah.
So how it works in the United States, you take a chemical, you put one little tweak on it, and now it's patented, and now the insurance world says, oh, it's patented, now we're going to go ahead and say you can use that and bill your insurance. So
I remember when I put this together, I got sick when I was in college, and my roommate was from like Eastern Asia, Kazakhstan area.
Yeah.
He brought me honey and tea
Yeah.
and aspirin.
Right.
And I was like, it's all the same thing. Just so it's like, it's all the same chemical. Just so you
Right.
know, like,
Right.
you're giving me 3 of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, that's what aspirin is,
Right.
like by and large.
and
you know,
and
so.
and really truly, like, what we want people to know is, number one, you're not your diagnosis, right? I can't tell you how many times, and this is why we're called New Hope Regeneration, is that so many people they've been given a no hope diagnosis. They've been told by multiple medical professionals, you're never going to get better, it's only going to get worse, and it's always going to be this way. Well, the fascinating thing, after 300,000 therapies, 85% of our clients, their medical doctors have to take them off of or decrease the medications that they're taking because their body is now working more efficiently again. So imagine, and that doesn't line up with the sick care system that is money driven, right? Like literally, truly, the healthcare system in the United States is one of the largest profit generators on the planet. If you were to compare a surgical cost of a knee replacement in the United States, it's about $54,000. The same exact prosthetic used in Spain, $11,500. Right. So people just don't really realize the truth to what that is, and contrast is how we know. And if I've never been out of country, I don't realize other options.
Like you end up given this like structural challenges, right,
Right.
of our healthcare system. You have to do your research. You have
Correct.
to investigate. You have to meet folks like you, Kevin. Like, and you can't just take the first opinion you get from a doctor.
100%.
You want to like Mayo Clinic this and research that and ask
Right.
questions on that
Yeah.
to be able to get the best care.
And we're
for
not
what you're
saying
doing.
that surgery doesn't save lives, right? I want to be really clear about that. For all of the people watching on this, surgery actually saved my life. So between the age of 5 and 6 years old, I was very severely sexually abused, raped, and tortured on a daily basis by my babysitter's son. At the end, towards the end of that year, the trauma was so severe, I actually had to have emergency surgery to save my life. I was bleeding out. The doctors had to remove 8 inches of my large intestine and piece a bunch of stuff back together on the inside. So I would never want somebody to think that a surgery isn't going to be helpful. But when you look at elective surgeries or you look at orthopedic surgeries and you look at all of the data, we now know there's certain surgeries where you can literally flip a coin on whether you're going to be the same or worse afterwards than if you had done nothing at all.
Right.
And because people don't realize that, it's hard for them to believe that there's another option
Right,
available.
it's an option. Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah,
And they're just tools in the toolbox. Now, we have clients that still need surgery, and they do stem cells as well. They'll come in and they'll get stem cells about a month before their surgery, and the surgeon comes out. Like, I have text message after text message from clients post-surgery about, I just want to show you this real quick so people know, like, I'm being truthful. So this is after my family, my wife and my kids, my most favorite thing that I have on the planet is this folder on my phone. And it's called Positive Testimony, and it's just
show
full.
It to the camera.
It's full of thousands and thousands and thousands of testimonies of our clients saying, "I just got out of surgery. The doctor was planning 2 hours. He got done in 20 minutes because 3 of the 4 things were already healed. And now, they had a knee replacement, and instead of 6 months out, they're 3 months out. They had a cardiac surgery, and instead of a year-long recovery, it was a 4-month recovery. So blending the best tools together is what gives a person the best possible outcome. So there's no magic bullet, right? And that's what I think the sick care system here does to people is like, if you just take this pill, then you'll be fine. If you just have this surgery, then you'll be fine. Or if you just take this magic root or just ohm and chant this way or say this prayer, then you'll be fine. The truth is sometimes we need a blend of those things to have optimal health and wellness. So
a couple more questions on here. I had Kathy was asking about nerve regeneration, and Tom was asking about, does this help with food allergies? So 2 different things.
Yeah, really fantastic. So this is the thing that I want you to think about. This is the best way to understand this. The stem cell in our bodies are the only cell that can communicate with every other cell type. Okay. If my lung is injured, my heart can't tell my lung to get better. The heart's still going to do what the heart's going to do. The lung is going to do what the lung is going to do. Yeah. It doesn't matter if the inflammation or the degeneration is in your nerve. It doesn't matter if it's in your bone. It doesn't matter if it's in your stomach. It doesn't matter if it's in your eyeball. The stem cells are called to all of those areas and are going to know where they need to go and what they need to do. And think about it like a parent, right? The parent gave the kids the chores. We're going to go run errands. I want you guys to do these chores. And then the parents get home and they pull up and you see the kids scramble and make the mad dash because the 2 hours the parents were gone, they didn't do their job. And now they're like, oh my gosh, parents are home. We got to do our stuff. That's essentially what's happening with stem cells is your body can just get like lazy and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And the stem cells tell those parts to do what they need to do. Nerves, bone, blood, cartilage, ligament, heart, lung, liver, it doesn't matter what it is. And that's why it's hard for people to understand that something so simple can have such a huge impact.
Yeah, wide range of effects.
Right. Where medications are... A medication, in order for it to receive approval, has to be proven to do one thing and one thing only, which is why when they'll talk about a medication and say, oh, well, this is what it does, but we use it off-label for these other things, right? That medication can't be proven to do multiple things. It can only be proven to do one thing, and that's the magic of a stem cell and why it's not approved or it can't be patented, because it could do all of these things.
Yeah,
and
so
it's
in
hard
terms
to wrap
of
a mind around that.
In terms of cost, do you are you able to space it out? Or
Yep. We have a few different options. So first and foremost, the heart of New Hope Regeneration was to try to make this as accessible to people as possible. If you go out of country, you go south of the border, you go to Spain, you go to Israel, you go to France and receive this, you're going to be $30,000 to $50,000 on average. The average price points, even within the United States, are going to be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for one round of therapy. Price points with New Hope Regeneration is either $3,500 or $6,500, depending on the volume of cells that we need to do. And we have payment plans. We have, we'll work with anybody in any capacity that we need to. But here's something that's really interesting. So if we have a client that is having to go to Cairo 3 days a week to get through the week, they're having to take all these medications, and when you look at your bills at the end of the year of how much people are spending in their healthcare, they're oh my gosh, like I've spent $40,000. Like my MS patients, some of their medications are literally $10,000 to $20,000 per month that they're having to pay, right? So then if someone comes in and they get a round of regenerative therapy and they just spent $6,500 for the year, and now they cut that in half, they've saved thousands and thousands of dollars. Or let's say you don't need a surgery now. Your body's made enough of an improvement.
Right.
You don't need surgery. Like, yes, your insurance may cover it, but your insurance, we all know, unless I have the magic golden parachute insurance, all of us, we have copays, we have premiums, we have all of these things, and it's only gotten more expensive. So if we can help your body do what it's designed to do naturally, people are actually spending less money at the end of the year than what they're spending in their traditional, their insurance model, the way that it's working right now. So it's really fascinating.
I totally get that. I had a bunch of sinus problems as well that I dealt with for a lot of my life. And then I went up to a research clinic in Birmingham, like up at UAB's great system. There was a lot of driving. There was several months of my life, but they fixed it. They actually got to the root of the problem that I was having. And that one was surgery, and but they fixed it. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh. Now I'm not sitting there having to do all this like sinus medication all the time. And over the years of my life, like totally worth like a couple of months in order to get the rest of my life
now
clear.
Everything is so changed beyond that.
So so let's go over, because we had a lot of comments on this, which was great. Where can people go to learn more? So they got the website. They can sign up there.
NewHopeRegeneration.com.
Got it.
We have a really wonderful YouTube page called Inside the Fight. Right.
Inside
if you want to
Fight.
go listen to some amazing testimonials from some world-class military members and just regular people with regular lives, Inside the Fight on YouTube is going to be a great resource as well. But really, our website, we have books, we have brochures, we have audiobooks, we have podcasts, we have radio shows. And for those of you researchers and people who really love diving deep, you can go to pubmed.org. And at any given time, there's anywhere between 5,000 to 8,000 different research articles that are constantly in fluctuation on pubmed.org. So anybody who's saying this is new and it's experimental is living in the Stone Age, right? It's like horse and buggy. None of that is true. None of that is accurate. And what changed is that in 2015, we were able to help change the laws and lift the moratorium on regenerative therapy in this country. Literally before 2015, the only way that you could receive stem cells was you had to have a mortality diagnosis of cancer. Wow. And then you had to do stem cells at a research facility. Yeah. And then we were able to help change that and say, look, here's the data. The data is clear. It's safe. It's effective. It's helpful. And so we were able to help change that. And so from 2015 to today, we've done over 300,000 successful therapies. And we're seeing people live a quality life that they never dreamed possible.
Yeah, it goes back to, fighting the stigma and saying, hey, this is where this comes from. Right. It is safe, simple, and fast, right? Like, yes, there was a time where people weren't clear about that, right? But now we've been able to resolve that.
We have a neurologist out of Kentucky who's a client of ours, and his specialty, and in Kentucky, it's the opioid belt. It's the opioid capital of the world with all the coal mines and all that kind of stuff. He actually was part of a team to help shift these doctors away from prescribing opioids. The state actually came after him to try to shut him down for helping people get off of opioids because of the money that was exchanging hands. And now he's a client that refers so many clients to us. So if you ever have a medical person tell you stem cells are experimental, it's illegal, it's new, none of that is accurate. That would be like saying we can't fly. That would be like saying electricity doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And
LASIK doesn't work.
LASIK doesn't work, right? Whatever it happens to be, right?
The best part of this, Kevin, is you. The best part, because you're here. You're like, if you're interested in this, talk to him. He lives down the street, right?
Literally,
like that's the best part.
Navarre's my hometown. We have 9 clinics throughout the country. Navarre's my home base. Yeah. And it's really
take him out for lunch. Get him a coffee. I owe him one already, right? Like
that's right.
Take him out for lunch. So for all the folks asking, Kathy, Tom, Nancy, folks that are interested in this, or like spend some time with you, right? Like hit you up.
Our goal is education, and what we want you guys to know is we just want you to have the information to be able to help you make the best decision possible. So we do complimentary consultations. We're going to get you on the phone. We can do this via phone. COVID was a really nice thing to help see, like, there's some things we could do via phone or Zoom. I mean, the technology today, we're getting to do this, and people all over the world are getting to watch us, right? Obviously a lot of locals, but so we can do a complimentary consultation over the phone. We're going to go through your health challenges, what your goals are, and really see if this is something that can be effective for you, so you can make a decision that makes sense for you.
That's awesome. All right, so let's hit some comments and then we'll wrap up for today. So I already talked about Mark's comment. He said, viewers are starting to grow. That's great. Really appreciate all the work. So if you're interested, first off, if you're interested in what Kevin's doing, which a lot of people are, please hit him up for supporting the show to get the word out about local heroes like him. please subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. And if you've got ideas for guests, let us know, because it was from Carmen. Carmen was like, you got to have Kevin on your show. And I was like, I don't know Kevin, but I'm excited to meet him. And now I totally see why, and then some. So it leads to the next person.
Exactly
so
right.
I would love to have you on again sometime to kind of talk about your updates as you go through this, right?
Sure.
Like, especially if you increase that local client base, because I'd love to have some of them come in here and talk about
it takes a community, and how we learn about things is we tell someone. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's the key.
Chuck is watching. Okay, we talked about. Tom, thanks again for the sound. Kathy Winter said Navarre is a beautiful and amazing city. Hope to make it my home. Absolutely. Put a ring on it, Kathy. That's how I look at it. Is I brought my wife down here to Navarre, and she fell in love with it. And then I was like, we could visit or we could move here. Right. And best decision we made, as a family.
I do want to say that like we're so loved that's actually my mom. So.
Oh, okay. There we go. Hey, yeah, there you go.
So watching from Spokane, Washington.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate it. That's great. That's great. So you're welcome anytime, Kathy. Come on down and see him. Carmen's watching. She said awesome descriptions. We talked about several of the questions here. Hit those up. Kathy McCabe, so how to reach out to you personally, because isn't it your family and stuff? You guys are, taking the lead on some of this stuff. So if you email the website to get in touch with you.
So go to the website, and then we can set up a time to have a conversation and have coffee and say hello and see how we can, help you meet your health goals.
Cool. Yeah. And you're on Facebook as well and all that stuff. Yep. And then last comment here is from Carmen. She said, I knew a lot of this info, but Kevin brought so much more. And that's the best part of doing it. That's why we do this, is it gives you a chance to kind of flesh out some of the ideas, respond to quite a few people online. And then, of course, this episode is going to be available afterwards so people can share it. I always do some video clips over the week. So happy to do that for you as well, Kevin, so that you guys can send this and say, hey, I was watching this video. Let's reach out to this guy and send it to your friends who may be busy tonight. So, man, thank you so much. This was awesome. I love, like I said, a hero who's out there changing the paradigm to save people. I think about, you've described stem cells and how they go out there and help all the other parts of your body. Like that's you as well, man. That's a description of your calling. Is you're going out there helping all kinds of other people.
I appreciate that. First and foremost, it's God first, right? And it's people like you and people like Carmen who are really just helping people know, like, hey, we need to build these communities. We need to support each other. And we live in interesting times where technology is super helpful, but there's been some disconnect the last little bit, and we need this to help people get reconnected. And so thank you for your heart. And you work a regular full-time job.
I do.
And here you are on a Thursday night helping people change their lives. So
I had a lieutenant. So back in 2014, I come back from Afghanistan, and even then, not that long ago, but it feels like a long time, because even then, like, mental health and all that stuff, PTSD treatment wasn't what it is now 10 years later. It was still wasn't great, and they had trouble, but she was one of those people who got it. And she had a brother who had struggled with it, so she understood when I was describing, I don't understand why I'm having this anxiety, I don't understand why I'm having these problems. I didn't even know how to formulate, like, I'm home, I'm safe. Like, when I was getting shot at, like, that was the scary time. Why am I dealing with these? She's like, oh, you got some panic going on, you got some anxiety problems. That's normal. That's what happens to people when they've been going and going and going like you have. And I was like, it is. And that was the first person who like knew how to like calm me down and tell me, hey, what you're going through is normal. And then she's like, it's also fixable. You're going to be fine. I was like, I don't feel, it's been months, I don't feel like I'm ever going to be who I was before. She's like, you're going to be yourself and you're going to be better. And I was like, I can't believe that. I don't believe it. She's like, trust me. This is what I do. You're going to be fine. And then she got me on this path of, let's get you exercising. Let's get you eating healthy. Let's get you doing some of the things that you used to do before, you music, all this other stuff. And like, man, like, I wish I could reach out to her. So she was one of those people who, she did the Lord's work. She got me back on my feet. And then she was gone. She's like, hey, I'm moving to a different base. And she was gone. I've tried to look her up a few times, and like, she's off living her life helping other people. But it was the voice of God in my life saying, you're going to be fine. And she's the reason that I made it through, because things start to go dark in life sometimes, and you feel like there's no hope. Sometimes. What am I dealing with? No one understands. I'm never going to be okay. And then it's that voice of hope that comes in and says, hold on a second, maybe there is something that you haven't tried. maybe there is something that's going to make this a little bit more tolerable,
Right.
man. And
100%.
that's hope. So
Yeah.
I love what you're doing. I see that in all written all over this. So God bless you, man. Thanks again for being here.
Thanks, brother.
So
We appreciate it. Thank
All
you
right,
all so much for listening to us yammer on a Thursday night. You all could have been out on a hot date with your significant others or doing something fun.
That's
so
tomorrow night.
thanks
That's
so
Friday
much.
night.
Okay,
That's when I did that. But yeah, thanks again, Kev, for being here. So take a look. You can also message me, and I'll be happy to give you some of his information. If you had more questions, direct them straight to him, or you can give them to me, and I'll pass them along. But love to have you again on the show. For everybody watching, make sure to subscribe. PreserveNavarre.com is our website as well. We're on Facebook and YouTube and everything else. This is the point of the show, guys. So let me know if you've got other folks you'd love to hear from. If you have more questions, hit us up. But thanks again, and we'll see y'all next week.